Is 3% really 3%? Not when it comes to your mortgage. I've been in financial services for 20 years, and I want to give you some advice that they actually do not teach us in school. And I want for you to take a look at this and then compare it to your own mortgage. Let me share my screen and show you my mortgage. This is my actual mortgage statement from this month. And you'll notice here that I have $698 going to interest. Now, remember back to your first mortgage, and you saw your first mortgage statement and you see that much money going to interest out of a total payment here of $1,165. And you think to yourself, wait a minute, I thought I got a really good interest rate. Notice on the left, it says 3.25%. Why is so much of my payment going to interest? If I pull out a calculator here, let's take a look at this. $698.63 going to interest out of a total payment of $1,165.48. If we're trying to get this into a percentage, we multiply it by 100. That means 59.94% of my payment is going to interest. Roughly 60% of my payment is going to interest. How is that 3.25%? You see, it's not. There is a difference between interest rate and something called interest volume. But the banks want for us to focus on interest rate. In fact, they sell us on how low the interest rate is, but that's not how they charge us. They charge us on interest volume. In fact, the technical term in your loan documents is something called total interest percentage. And only a couple of years ago did Congress mandate that they have to include that total interest percentage number in your loan documents. Up until that time, they didn't even have to disclose that percentage. Yet that is how much we are losing. If I came to you as a financial services professional and I said, hey, why don't you give me $1,165 every single month? I will invest $466 for you, and I will keep $698 for myself. How good of a deal do you feel like you would have gotten in that instance? Probably not that great. Now, I'm not saying that mortgages aren't a good deal. We need them in the United States to live in the homes that we have. And because of the way that our homes appreciate and things, again, I'm not saying that mortgages are a bad deal, but I am saying that 3% isn't necessarily 3%. See, you'll hear a lot of people say that mortgages are the cheapest money that you will ever borrow. But is it really if you're losing this much money every single month? All right. There are lots of ways that we can actually have more of our money going to principal and a lot less of our money going to interest without refinancing and without changing our monthly budget. In fact, there is a program called the Money Max account, which has absolutely revolutionized the way that people get out of debt without changing their monthly budget. And in fact, I've been using this program myself for almost 15 years on multiple different properties. If I actually take this property and these exact numbers and put it into my Money Max account, and I'm going to minimize this here, you will see that I am actually taking this property with this exact balance and paying it off in just 3.1 years. I actually have, according to the bank, 28 years left on this loan. I've only lived here a short amount of time. And in fact, I just refinanced 2 years ago. So that started the clock all over again. And I'm supposed to have 28 years left. Paying it off now in just 3.1 years using this program. There are ways to use technology to get out of debt much faster. We use technology in every other aspect of our life. Why are we not using it for our finances? See, the thing is, we have to pay back every bit of principal that we've borrowed. I've borrowed over $250,000. I have to pay all $250,000 back. If I won the lottery and I could write a check for $250,000 right now, I would pay zero in interest. The bank would accept the $250,000 and I would be done. On the other end, if I pay every single payment on time, doing exactly what the bank wants me to do, like a good little American, I am going to pay exorbitant amounts of interest. And it's actually going to take me over $400,000 to pay that loan back. With the Money Max account, we want to be somewhere in the middle. We're still going to pay some interest. We can't make it zero. The program's not magic. It is just math. We are still going to pay some interest, all right? But we want to eliminate as much as possible. How do we do that? We have to pay back, again, every bit of principal, all right? But the faster we pay back the principal, like the example of winning the lottery, the faster we can get the principal paid back, the less in interest we pay. And interest is what keeps us in bondage. Now, how do we send extra to the principal? How do we pay principal back faster without feeling it? And the without feeling it and the without changing our budget is where the technology comes into play. All right. There are algorithms, there is math, there are ways to float and leverage your money in ways that you've not even thought about, because that is what technology does. We use algorithms in every other aspect of our life. We think about Facebook, we think about Google, we think about Amazon. Algorithms are making our lives function in ways that are much more efficient than we can do without them. The same thing can apply for our finances. Think about GPS. It takes you from point A to point B, and it maps out the fastest route, and it's always looking at traffic patterns along the way. What if the same thing could happen for your finances? Pulling all sorts of external data in, analyzing it, and telling you the easiest way to get from where you are now to debt freedom. That is the reality with the Money Max account. Want more details? Click the link below, book an appointment with one of our advisors, and they will go through a full demo showing you all of the details of how this program works. Thanks so much for your time.